There we go. There we go. So I'm recording this as well, people. So if you don't want to be seen on camera, you should turn it off or on the recording, because I have many people that would like to see the recording after. But you're welcome to keep your cameras on. It's nice to see some familiar faces. And okay, so this webinar, we're going to spend an hour together here on the not too chilly. We're just making jokes about that, how -10 is like, yeah, whatever. On this -10 day in January. It's actually my brother's birthday today, and I think Sylvie's going to be having a nice dinner later, cooked by her children. So, I mean, we got a lot of cool things happening. But before we get into all the after school stuff, we're going to talk a little bit about school today, in particular about how to get our kids outside more. I wanted to just kind of start off by, there's a revitalization plan that Quebec put out when the kids were coming back to school after the COVID shutdown. And it was very interesting that one of the third goals that they wanted was to get kids outside more. Now, it could be obvious because of the COVID, and, you know, instead of having our windows open in our classroom and we feel like we're outside, well, maybe we should just go outside. So I find that that's been really positive. The ministry wants us to start taking our kids out more and using the outdoors as our outdoor classroom, because there's so many cool learning materials out there, which we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to first off just kind of orient ourselves. So I'm going to introduce our special guests, and I'm going to kind of get you guys set up, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of outdoor ed. And then each of our experts here are going to present some ideas of activities and things that can happen outside in those winter months. So my name's Chris Cawley. I am a consultant at Learn. I've been really diving into outdoor ed with the help of these two beautiful women that have kind of helped me along this journey. And I won't even say help me, but help Quebec community along this journey. We had 100 registrations for this, so you can see that there's definitely there's a flavor in the air for outdoor learning, which is amazing for us because we really believe in it, and we hope that you guys get a lot out of this webinar. So let's start off. I would like to introduce you to Sylvie Ozell, who is a grade 1 teacher with Lester B, and also Kelly Fahey, who is a grade 5-6 teacher, grade 6.
6.
Grade 6. Sometimes those fusion of courses. Grade 6 teacher with Sir Wilfrid Laurier. And my first questions to them, so I'm going to do a bit of Q&A with them, and then we're going to jump into a little bit more of an exploration of what they've been doing outside. And Sylvie, I'm going to do franglais with her, so we're going to dance around in French and English. Fait que Sylvie, bonjour, c'est toujours super de te voir. Just give us an orientation, Sylvie, where your school is, what kind of outdoor facilities you have, areas you have, and how long you've been doing outdoor ed.
So I'm teaching at Forest Hill Junior. We're in Saint-Lazare, banlieue ouest de Montréal, Lester B. Pearson. So I'm teaching there since a long time, and I was involved. I was creating the outdoor classroom in our beautiful forest in 2018, and I had so much fun creating this space for the kids, for the teacher. And now in our school, we're K-2, and I can say that all the teachers make le changement and try to go outside, take risk, and bring the kids outside, you know, and that's really cool. And tu sais, tout à l'heure, on parlait des experts, mais on n'est pas des experts parce que dans vos milieux, je suis certaine, je vous vois pas, mais parmi nos participants, ben, il y a aussi des experts et des expertes qui ont le désir de prendre ce risque-là. Donc, c'est mon environnement de travail. I think I will say, Chris, wintertime, it's for some of us, maybe it's scary to be outside during this cold weather, but I will say maybe it's much easier with the youngest one. Kelly will say something about it later, because the youngest kids, they love to be outside. They love to have recess and play outside and shovels, and so maybe, and like we said before, il n'y a pas de mauvaise température, no bad weather, but only bad clothing. So, donc, je ne sais pas si j'ai répondu à ta question, Chris, mais Kelly, je ne sais pas si avec toi, c'est plus facile ou plus difficile d'amener les plus vieux dehors.
Yeah,
Oui,
Kelly,
on va voir.
chime in on that.
All right,
Merci,
so
Sylvie.
Kelly here from Morn Heights Elementary School. As Chris said, we're Wilfrid Laurier School Board. And we have, I don't know, our school is nestled in, I think, the best place. We have wonderful lakes and streams nearby and hiking trails that we can walk to. So we're so fortunate with that. We also are able to work on getting an outdoor classroom set up. We resurfaced our entire schoolyard so that it wouldn't just be a flat sort of paved area for the students to build gardens in and natural spaces. So we've been working at that. And my passion is really getting the students outside and bringing anyone who wants to come along with me, or I would love accompanying them as well. That's a bit about me. And I also had an opportunity of working at our school board's outdoor center for a number of years, where I got to teach and work with so many teachers from across Quebec, as well as students from kindergarten right through to university and adults.
Well,
so
thanks, Kelly. That's great. Wonderful experiences. And we're going to kind of talk about why. So we kind of situated ourselves. So my next question to you guys, and whoever wants to chime in first can, what do you think the benefits are? Like, why do it? Why do you think that it benefits students, teachers, the community, the school? I mean, you can go as macro, as micro as you want, but what do you think the benefits of taking those kids out are?
Well, besides it being just so darn much fun, there's improved mental health, physical health, and wellness for both the students and the teachers. I certainly feel so much better when I get outside with the students, and especially during these times when we're tired of wearing, our masks all day, or double masks in our case here at our school. Enhanced cooperation and problem solving that I see in the students. And one outdoor activity can touch on so many branches of the academics that we're responsible for teaching the students. Reduce challenging behaviors. I feel that once we get the kids out moving, we have fewer issues. I don't know, stronger connections to nature. Go ahead, Sylvie. I'm sure you have a ton more.
No, I totally agree with you. Having my kids outside, it's good for us, teacher and kids, and it slow l'anxiété, ça baisse l'anxiété. Puis les enfants, quand ils sont en forêt, then we reach, at the Lester B. Pearson, we're talking about the 6 C's, and I think all the other school board. And the 6 C's, in all the activities that we're doing, we reach our goals, and la résolution de problèmes, la prise de risque, puis toutes ces compétences-là qu'on peut travailler en étant à l'extérieur. Puis il y a la connexion avec la nature. So we're talking about raising, le futur citoyen de demain qui est en relation avec la nature. And we're talking about climate changes. And I think this being outside, it's the perfect teacher. C'est ce que la nature nous offre. Puis je pense que être en symbiose avec la nature va faire en sorte qu'on va avoir un citoyen de demain qui va être beaucoup plus responsable de ses actions. Je ne sais pas ce que tu en penses, Kelly, mais je pense que les actions, il faut les faire dès le plus jeune âge.
Ah oui, exactement, Sylvie. Bien dit, exactement. If we want children to save the planet, they have to know what lives on it and what walks the earth besides just them. Absolutely. Yeah. And it also gives us...
It's a cool mindset to have too, right? That, the kids, if we're not relying, but if we know as adults that they're going to be facing some environmental problems. You don't start off by saying, okay, you got to save the world when you get older. They're going to be like, thanks, but no thanks. But if they have that connection to the outdoor world, I think that enhances itself big time.
Yeah, and also provides an opportunity for you to connect with your community, get others involved, their senior populations, their retired populations, local organizations. It's wonderful. They see you out there doing good and they would like to help as well. So that's a nice connection. Certainly that works well with our CLC groups.
Right.
And it's I will say it's building the ownership, from the community, from the kids. Et moi, j'ai jamais vu, on a des pelles, on a pendant la récré, des petites pelles pour qu'ils puissent s'amuser, des traîneaux. Et je peux vous dire qu'en 25 ans, j'ai jamais vu autant d'enfants responsables. They take, the lead to clean, they're showing that they are really responsible and conscientious about their outdoor space. So, pour moi, c'est un plus.
Ouais. Sylvie, comment tu rends un élève à ce point-là? Parce que j'imagine quand il commence d'aller à l'extérieur pour, apprendre que c'est une adaptation qui se passe.
Yeah, you need to build a routine, I think, and it's not, I remember those times that many years ago, we were guilty to go outside, with the kids. And I think we don't need to. And as much as you go, you go oftenly, la routine s'établit and they know what you're expecting, as a teacher, and they know what they're doing and they will do. Puis je pense que comme à la maternelle, les filles vont dehors avec les enfants, pas seulement pour s'amuser, pour faire des activités, quand ils arrivent en première année, they're already, used to go in their outdoor space. And so, c'est vraiment, and c'est la curiosité, natural curiosity, I will say, that we're building over there. Mais la routine est importante, spécialement en hiver. We'll talk about that maybe later. What do you think, Ellie?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Is creating that mindset for the students and having that routine so they know the minute they see me haul out my bucket, it's like, oh, we're going outside. What are we doing? And so those little things that we don't think mean very much, they mean quite a bit to the students. And then following through. And if we're able to do that on a more regular basis each week, I think it's just wonderful. And just developing that curiosity, as you say, Sylvie, they really enjoy being outside and learning.
And as a teacher, maybe you will think, winter time, what I will do during winter time. But if you think just about all the different phases of la neige, when it's crispy, when it's un peu plus mouillé, you can relate it to the weather, and you have a lot of teaching au niveau de l'enseignement, donc au niveau des possibilités que la nature nous offre. On observe, puis après ça, on peut aller faire nos recherches à l'intérieur. Donc, je dirais que oui, l'hiver, ça nous offre beaucoup, beaucoup d'opportunités d'enseignement.
Yeah, and we're going to jump into that actually. My one last question before we jump into your activities, and so I believe that there's benefits for it. I haven't started yet. I don't have my routine set up. How do you get that going in a school? I can imagine that you don't want to do this. It's better to have more classes involved or more teachers involved. How do you build a culture around outdoor learning?
Hey, je pense que c'est comme un virus, la COVID, You need to spread your passion and your les petites étincelles, and, what do you think?
I agree. You start small and encourage, your colleagues to come out with you at different times. But it's true. There's still, I think, a fear of letting go of the things that we sort of forget that we're still teaching, even if we leave the classroom. And I think that that's important to realize that not everything is, paper and pencil or in front of a device. So it's shifting that mindset that we can work other ways with students and in other environments.
And I will say, not be too hard on yourself as a teacher. Like maybe you will plan something and it will be something else will happen, Puis je pense que oui, l'erreur il n'y a pas d'erreur à l'extérieur, tu sais. Puis on va en parler tout à l'heure, set smart goals, tu sais, être spécifique, avoir des objectifs qui sont mesurables, qui sont achievable, c'est ça? Realistic in the time, puis aussi ne pas s'attendre à de passer beaucoup de temps, surtout en hiver à l'extérieur. Puis aussi, on va le voir avec les petits, j'ai toujours, je ne l'ai pas, j'ai toujours mon thermos, avoir un petit peu un petit price, un incentive, c'est ça en anglais? Du chocolat chaud ou un petit cidre chaud, là, un petit jus de pomme chaud, ça fait du bien. Et puis, les enfants sont heureux de revenir. Pas tout le temps, mais bon, ça peut être le fun. Okay?
That's great. Good trick. Who doesn't like hot chocolate outside after a cold day? Interesting. And have you guys ever... has the principal ever said, why are you taking your kids outside, or has it always been encouraged in your schools?
Kelly, for myself, I will say she didn't have the choice. I was so en passion puis enthousiaste que oui, she came, and I think this is the role of a principal to just push us or follow us, as a teacher. And, I never felt that she put some, des bâtons dans les roues. Puis je pense que ça fait en sorte que it will be part of our school success plan. So, I mean, for me, c'est un plus que pédagogiquement, mon équipe école désire s'en aller vers l'enseignement à l'extérieur. C'est un beau cadeau, vraiment, pour les profs puis pour les enfants.
Right.
Puis la communauté aussi.
Totally agree with what you're saying, Sylvie. In fact, getting outside is part of our success plan here at school. And even though we've had sort of a turnover of teachers, it's hard sort of getting people to come on board just because they're, it's a new school for them and a new year. So just, they're, still sort of learning, but we try and have some different activities all the time. I know during COVID, we were supposed to start our winter activity program, but unfortunately that has been closed down. But we'll find some other things to get involved in the Olympics. So we've started talking about another way of taking the kids outside in their groupings. But being stopped only once, and that was last week when it was -30. I was heading outside with the students as we were doing a science experiment. We just took advantage of the cold weather, and that was, where are you going? It's in the name of science, as Chris said earlier. So we got to go out.
That's right. Blame it on science.
Si je peux rajouter, c'est important aussi quand on a des nouveaux membres dans l'équipe école nous, on a une passion commune qui est l'enseignement à l'extérieur, mais c'est important de mettre les nouveaux collègues ou même les enseignants qui auraient des questions à être à l'aise à venir te voir. So you are like a mentor for them, and I think it's really important. J'ai toujours eu dans ma carrière j'ai toujours dit, ce que tu ne sais pas, demande, et ce que tu sais, partage. Donc, ça a toujours été un mantra dans ma vie professionnelle, puis c'est ce que j'essaie de faire avec le outdoor learning and teaching. So, c'est...
Well, let's jump into some of your activities. So, Sylvie, tu vas passer en premier avec C'est l'hiver?
Ouais.
C'est l'hiver? Cool.
C'est l'hiver.
C'est l'hiver. Let me share my screen here, and on we go.
On va faire ça vite, Kelly.
Yeah, vous avez 15 minutes chaque.
Bon, parfait. Alors, c'est l'hiver, ça, c'est notre environnement à l'extérieur. It's my place outside with the beautiful tree. And first of all, I will say, I said, when I see trees like that, I feel really blessed and really, je vois plus rien, Chris. Okay, parfait. And really grateful about what nature gives to us. And I will say I'm really related to trees. At the beginning of the school year, the kids, they adopt a tree. And trees, I mean, if you think about it, you can make observations during winter time, and then you can compare it au printemps, pendant l'été. Alors vraiment, il y a tellement d'observations à faire. Puis évidemment, j'aime ça, moi, utiliser en fait les albums pour enfants à l'extérieur. Donc, Giving Tree, I love this book, and we just go outside, and you know, it's part of our activity with trees. So, and trees, you look up and you can see squirrel, and it's always about I wonder, je me demande. Les enfants vont regarder le sommet des arbres, ils vont dire, hey, regarde, il y a peut-être un écureuil, regarde, il y a un nid d'écureuil, il y a un nid d'oiseau. So it's a lot, trees teach a lot, I think, in our forest. So I was talking about SMART goals, so spécifique, mesurable, que ça soit facilement achievable, réalistique and timely. Donc, je pense que ça, c'est important. Quand on pense aller à l'extérieur, juste se demander, puis essayer justement au niveau de Set Your Winter Program Goals, de vraiment avoir ça en tête, les SMART Goals. Donc, c'est ce que je parlais tout à l'heure, avoir une routine avec les enfants. Donc, quand on sort, c'est sûr qu'en hiver, it's not the same way than during, I will say, spring or fall time. So, winter time, of course, they're wearing appropriate gear, but we will maybe walk more faster when we will be at le lieu de rassemblement, the gathering space. Maybe we will make some exercise with avec les mitaines, avec les mains pour bouger un petit peu. And then we will on va faire notre acknowledgement, notre territorial acknowledgement. Puis après ça, je vais les laisser probablement jouer un peu juste pour se réchauffer, voir ce qui s'est passé dans l'environnement, puis finir avec un chocolat chaud. Le secret, quand on sort, ce qui est le fun, c'est d'avoir une bâche bleue. Chris, can they see me when I talk? The participant? Are they able to see me? No?
Yes.
Yes,
we
okay.
can.
Because I will say, just bring a box like that. IGA, like they put some pudding mix inside, so you can ask, it's free. They will donate it to you. So les enfants peuvent s'en aller, mettre leur matériel là-dedans, and it's a spot to sit, you know, everyone you want. So, mais moi, j'aime bien la bâche bleue. So, it's there. Et c'est ça, en étant, it's part of what we were talking about before, creativity. So, I mean, being outside, it's a lot of, when they play, the second, oui, la prochaine diapositive. So, à l'école, on a beaucoup de pelles. So, they can play with them, they can build, they take some risk. Puis, on a aussi the loose parts area. And I mean, tires, they're not cost a lot, but you can't imagine how the kids, they having fun with them. They're playing with it. They're doing some bonhomme de neige structure. They're doing some yoga posture. I mean, it's crazy. I was on duty many times and never saw un jeu pareil. C'était toujours différent à chaque fois. I mean, it's crazy and it doesn't cost a lot. So, and they have real fun. So, dehors, bien, c'est sûr, on peut voir les enfants qui collaborent. And I think, you know, we were talking about responsibilities. We have shovels. So when we have snow outside, you know, the kids, they will be responsible to clean the benches, to clean the structure. You know, they will maybe take the snowshoes and they will go and just taper les petits chemins dans la forêt. So even at 6 years old, they can they can be really proud to have this sense of ownership. Ici, je me demande, I love this picture because this little boy was he came from Denmark and he was outside all the time. He said, "See, Madame Sylvie, at my school, we were outside and it was a real forest school. They were, you know, eating outside and everything." And he struggled with his French. And actually, I remember we were outside. And he explained to all the kids in my class how it was in Denmark, and it was in French, and he was speaking really well. And, you know, and I said, okay, it's part of your evaluation. And, you know, being outside, you have le petit journal nature. And I will say, my trick will have to avoir, parce qu'on a l'imitème, donc une petite planche, je mets une corde avec évidemment un gros crayon à la mine. Et on a, donc ça coûte pas cher. Et le petit journal qui est du magasin du dollar, pour ne pas le nommer. So with that, you're fine. They can go outside and make their observation. Or if it's too cold, like last week, we can do it inside. Ça ici, oui, c'est des petites loupes. So even if you don't have these kind of stuff, you can take some branches, juste faire un petit cadre avec les branches. And a trick, you know, because in my teaching, I use a lot some des objets de la nature, des cocottes, des branches, des morceaux de bois. So before the snow coming, peut-être au mois d'octobre, novembre, d'aller ramasser des cocottes en prévision de l'hiver, des morceaux de branches en prévision de l'hiver aussi. Donc, on utilise juste un petit cadre avec des branches et puis on peut demander aux enfants, observe ce que tu vois dans ce carré-là. Et ça peut faire partie justement du journal d'observation. La même chose, les traces d'animaux. Donc, on se demande tout le temps, je me demande qu'est-ce qui est passé par ici, quelle sorte d'animal, qu'est-ce que ça peut être. Et pour moi, en tant qu'enseignante, cette année, je me suis vraiment donné comme objectif là, de leur montrer certaines, au moins 5 petites pistes d'animaux pour qu'ils puissent être en mesure de les nommer. Donc, c'est ça. Donc, on y fait référence. Le petit livre des traces des animaux, là, ça, c'est génial, c'est à leur niveau. Et puis, on en a un en classe, donc ils en font référence. Ici, first, when it snows, so you just take a black paper. On sort, puis après ça, on peut justement aller observer les flocons de neige, faire les dessins, aller voir quelle forme le flocon de neige qui est tombé sur le papier noir, quelle forme il a. Puis on peut aussi, on en a déjà parlé précédemment avec Chris et Kelly. Moi, ce que je vais faire, peut-être pas à moins 30, mais je vais apporter, I will bring the old iPods and the old iPads outside. Take some pictures, you know, the one that we're not using for something else in the class. So I will bring dans mon pack-sac, j'en ai au moins 1 ou 2, and you know, I can take picture and then put that for a self-reflection. Mud Kitchen, c'est vraiment mon bébé, la Mud Kitchen, c'est un endroit où j'aime aller. Une Mud Kitchen, c'est pas seulement fait pour s'amuser. On cuisine, ne serait-ce que penser à des expériences. Ça devient en fait en hiver un laboratoire de science. On en apprend sur les différentes phases de l'eau, de la neige. Quand il fait très, très froid, ben, la neige, elle est différente. On peut faire nos expériences, mettre de l'eau et voir le lendemain ce que ça fait, ça l'a gelé. Donc, Mud Kitchen, tout le monde y trouve son compte. Garçons et filles ont beaucoup de plaisir. Après ça, on peut inventer des recettes. Ça, c'était une bûche de Noël. Donc, après ça, on invente nos recettes. On peut les écrire à l'intérieur, c'est sûr. Donc, ce qui se fait, par exemple, au printemps, à l'automne, peut se faire également pendant l'hiver. Donc, et là, vous voyez, les enfants qui sont vraiment engagés dans leurs apprentissages, c'est génial de les voir jouer, de s'amuser, de collaborer. Là, ça, c'est des petits ornaments, donc au niveau des différentes phases de l'eau. L'eau, c'est sûr que quand on est en 6e année, on sait ce qui se passe avec l'eau, mais quand on a 5, 6, 7 ans, c'est toujours intéressant de faire ce genre d'expérience. Donc, I relate it again with natural curiosity. So, l'hiver, c'est ça. L'hiver, c'est surtout en tant qu'individu. Tout à l'heure, on parlait de We Raise Our Kid for le 21e siècle, pour l'enfant de demain. Mais je pense que l'hiver nous montre à accepter, nous montre la bienveillance, nous montre aussi à faire preuve de patience envers tout ce qui se passe. It's a beautiful teacher, I think. Puis c'est sûr, la peinture à l'extérieur, les enfants adorent. Donc, je vous montre. Ça ici, c'est une petite bouteille. Vous pouvez la remplir, une petite bouteille avec à pression. Ça fonctionne bien, ou encore un petit push-push, coûte pas cher, magasin du dollar. C'est sûr que quand il fait moins 30, moi, je me souviens, j'avais apporté des pastilles d'aquarelle avec de l'eau, puis ça avait gelé avec le pinceau. But, you know, it wasn't, this activity didn't turn as I was expecting, but I told the kids, okay, let's do the same activities when it will be much hot. Ça va être un petit peu plus chaud. On était sorti à moins 22, je crois, moins 25. Donc, on est retourné faire l'expérience avec une température un peu plus clémente, et ça a sorti comme ça. Donc, et bien évidemment, quand la neige elle est collante, on parlait les différentes émotions. We're talking about a lot of emotion, comment on se sent. So, and we can transporter cet apprentissage-là sur les arbres de notre forêt. And the kids, they love doing that. So, on peut le faire en été, au printemps, à l'automne, avec with mud. En hiver, c'est avec la neige, la même activité. Donc, en tant que to be able to, as a teacher, to prepare some activities, it's really easy because you just switch, you know, you're using the same goal, mais différemment pour l'hiver. Après ça...
c'est beau ça, Sylvie?
Oui, c'est pas pire, hein? Après ça, on peut s'amuser, chercher trouve. On peut demander, combien de traces, combien d'empreintes tu trouves dans la neige. So you have so much things that you can do winter time. So, oui, c'est ça. C'est pas mal ça. So, Kelly, are you ready?
Wow. I think we see some similarities.
It's cool, though. Wow. Great, great things
Sylvie.
to see there, Sylvie. Merci pour ça.
All
right, let me get the other one up here. And if anybody has any questions, don't worry. We're going to have a little bit of time at the end, so we can get, if you want to throw it in the chat box, no problem. We'll get your questions at the end once we hear about a little bit older learners here. So we're going up in age a little bit. All right, Kelly, here you are. Can you see your presentation all right?
Yes, thank you. So, as I mentioned before, I teach at the cycle 3. So my homeroom class is grade 6, but I also teach 5 and 5-6 science and social studies. So I cover all of cycle 3. So when I take the students outside, I feel like I'm always having to justify the academics of doing that. So I'm always looking, how does it touch ELA? How is it, touching science, math, ethics, social studies, and of course, phys ed. So I guess getting started with some of the things, it was cold outside, and so I often like to take advantage of what's happening at that moment. And so here we started with that freezing weather that we had last week. I thought, okay, we have to investigate this. So we started, of course, online as everybody else did. I thought, okay, what can we do? And I had the students start collecting data on the temperature and just weather in general. So they're going to be looking at that for the next month. And we'll work on some graphs, make some comparisons, and we'll tie that into ethics and social studies, or what would have been like to get dressed back in the 1800s, et cetera. And that can also help us start talking about some other things such as climate change, of course. If we go to the next slide, so what we did is the kids said, I wonder how cold it is outside. Like, how long would it take something to freeze? Ah, perfect. So we found some containers, and we decided that we'd have 2 different samples, one in the snow and one isolated there in the walkway. And the kids were really eager to start collecting information. They kept going out every half hour to see. Now, this was the day where it was certainly minus 30 up here. And that's where I got stopped. Where are you going? It's so cold. But it was a great activity. If we go to the next slide. So the children, the students, we don't think much about, the process of, of matter. And here, the students just started talking about it and sort of observing, not just the fact that there's frozen water now. They had all kinds of other questions which came from that. So they have a box where they have to write down some questions. So we'll investigate that later. So that was just an activity that we just took an opportunity to seize the cold and get outside and learn a little bit about it. And of course, that fits well in with the grade 6 science curriculum. And I'm trying to blend it over into the language arts as well. So one of my favorite activities is to do tracking. And it's, I would say, the best activity to do in the winter time with your students. And it doesn't matter whether you're, in a rural setting or an urban setting. There's so much to see after that beautiful snowfall. So here we are, we were heading out for a walk, just a snowshoe, and we're going to look at some trees, I guess, for this lesson, and do some investigations about some things that we looked at earlier in fall. And the students looked, oh my gosh, there's something that came here. And so we all, they just jumped off the trail immediately, put everything down, and I wonder who came here. I wonder where they were going. I wonder where they're coming from. Wonder what it is. And that just opens up an amazing, plethora of questions and curiosity. So that led us into a project for looking at, to look at mammals. So the students are looking at that now. We're looking at mammals that are found in Quebec. So they're doing some research on that and looking at, understanding animal adaptations and what happens when the temperature does hit minus 43. What happens to the animals? How do they survive? All of these activities really lend themselves well with the tracking. And so the earlier tracks we found were fox, and these are fisher tracks. And we always put something down just so that we can measure the length of the size of the actual track, and then of course the stride that the animal took. So we happened to have some ski poles at the time when we were outside. So that's just one activity that can be done, looking at tracks, setting up a bird feeder. And as the birds land at the bird feeder, sometimes they leave these beautiful tracks, and you can go out and investigate them. I think that we don't necessarily have to leave out food for animals to come. I think the children do that naturally with, unfortunately, all the garbage that may be left. I mean, that's certainly our case up here. We get all kinds of wonderful animals here, and those tracks just provide a wonderful inventory of who visits your yard when you're not here. And once that snow comes in again, it's a whole new fresh slate. So I always have these great guides on hand, and there's some that are free, and I'll put that later in the chat so that you can download that and start instantaneously. And they're for animals that are found in your area. So those are just a couple ideas on the tracking. And then another activity that we've been working on. So a lot of these, Chris asked us to do this. I was like, where do you begin? There's so much to do. So I just thought, well, I'll get started on some of the activities that I've been doing in the classroom. So again, during COVID, we had, with the distance education, we made these freeze frames, and I asked the students to take, go out to their window, cut up a piece of paper, have a little viewfinder in it, and go out and sort of narrow in on something. And from there, they're able to write these beautiful words, like these phrases that were so descriptive. And then that's how I'm tying in the ELA with that. And it could be done with FSL as well. So having, students write in French is actually excellent. And whether, maybe if you're timid about getting outside right away, or maybe starting with something like this, I taped some of them in on the windows in my classroom. But as you can see in the other little photo there, we'll often go outside with an actual frame that you can find at the store Sylvie mentioned earlier, for maybe $1 or $2. And it's just a great little tool to have around. So we'll do that a few times during the school year. Once we do some of the learning, we'll do many other learnings outside, but I always find that it's important to wrap it up with some time for fun. So whether it's a snack or a lunch outside, a picnic, or a game, sometimes I'll even do an exit ticket. So I've got that picture of the crow and the owl, and we'll play a game. I'll divide the group into 2, and then whatever activity we're working on, if I wanted them to recall some important knowledge, I'll make some statements, and the students who are the owls, if it's a true statement, they will chase after the crows, and then vice versa if I make a false statement. So that not only, just breaks things up, it allows them to have some time and some pleasure. So it's a similar reward that Sylvie does in a different way with some of the older kids. And sometimes, yes, we do give them some little snacks after a long time outside. Also, moving around when we're outside, these fun cooperative games will certainly help the students stay warm if they're moving. So the minute that I see somebody getting a little cold, we'll just jump into a quick game. And sometimes there's, everybody's it tag just for about 5 or 10 minutes. And that kind of warms everyone up and everyone has fun. And then we'll end up usually back into the classroom to, do some other sort of wrapping up of the different things that we were talking about. Dressing for the outdoors, that's always something that comes up, how you can't get them outside because the students are never dressed. Well, I usually send out a letter during the different seasons just to let parents know what items the students would need to be wearing in order to be nice and warm. So the rule is for me that when the students go out for recess, whatever the rule is for the school, you wear, and some of the students are there with their coats half zipped or no hats or maybe no mittens. But when they're in class with me, they know that they have to dress. So here's a simple list of, just a list that I give out to the parents so that they have an idea. And I always, explain to the students that if we're all comfortable, then we can stay out longer and have more fun. And in fact, on the next slide, to help reinforce this fact, I had the students, I put them in groups, and they all had to do research on the best way to dress for the outdoors. And that was hilarious. They were presenting some of their projects today. I should have had a video of a couple of them, the way that they were getting dressed up. And now they're, we can't wait to go outside now. And then they were talking about, well, I guess we wouldn't need this if it's -10 out, starting to make those correlations with the temperature. So that was a lot of fun doing that. We also, and I guess the big takeaway there is try not to wear cotton. That's something that the students got to talk about, as well as, what are some of the injuries that you can have in the cold, hypothermia or a little bit, some frostbite. I was mentioning earlier that often we have a winter activity program that runs at our school. And this is where we do engage all of the teachers for those, 6 weeks. We get out, teachers divide up, and we each pick a sport that that will take the students on. We had cross-country skiing. We have skating at the local rink for the younger kids. We have snowshoeing. There's also at our local ski hill, there's skiing and snowboarding available. So really like to encourage the students to try and get involved in an outdoor activity, because even though we live in the Laurentians, we find that many of the students haven't tried many of these activities. So it's really nice to give them an opportunity to try those out. And we even have winter survival in there for some good fun. We also take walks outside. And today that was something that we did. The snow was falling so gently. And I had all my lesson plan of what we were going to do. We had to go over some math tests, etc. And I just took a look out, and one of the students said, you know, Skelly, the snow is just beautiful out. And I thought, okay, let's put the math to the side. I'm lucky I do have my students for a little bit longer than perhaps some other other teachers have their students for. So we went outside and we stood, we played some games, and then we took a walk, and they were just mesmerized by that snow. As you can see, that word's used quite often in the writing. And then we came back in. So this only took a few minutes, and we came back in, and I asked them just do a quick write in their journals. And they have each of the students at the beginning of the year, they actually made their own journals. So they sewed them, and they write in them all the time. So they're the go-to. And in this case, these are just excerpts. I don't know if you can have a chance to read it, but I really find them just so touching and to read. And they were excerpts from a longer write that they had to do today for ELA. So that's what we're doing. I don't know. Oh, and then I have my bucket. So as I alluded to before, crunch for time here there, Chris. So I have a bucket similar to Sylvie, where I have a bigger bucket, and then my students get to carry a backpack, and they have regular things that they bring in. So they'll have some sit-upons and things. And those are, I don't know, you can see I have this giant bucket here. And when they see that come out, they know, okay, we're going to be doing something. So often, I mean, I'll have like a talking stick. It's a set of an antler that we'll pass around to conclude our activity outside. Because I always like to wrap it up, to go back to why we were outside, what did we learn, and how did we feel about that learning experience. Often take a little first aid kit with me. And these sit-upons, I was saying, are, I would say, a godsend to have, a must if you're going outside with the students. In the summer, we use them to sit on, but in the winter, we can stand on them and sit on them, and it provides a really nice insulation factor between, you know, for the students, and that way their feet stay warmer longer. And many of the same things that Sylvie had for her students, you know, magnifying glasses, measuring tapes, all kinds of things, blindfolds, pencils. I always go out with pencils. The students also have clipboards with a pencil on, but never fails something, you know, something goes wrong outside, but we always have a backup. So those are some different things that I have, and I'm always ready with some different games. I have a big rope that I can use as well to set some of the boundaries up. And these are things that just over the years I found as great tools to use. And many of these things we can just jump into cooperative games. And I don't know if I put anything else on there, but those are my go-to things, and really make things easy for me to teach with outside. The activity bag that I mentioned. So if I'm going out to do tracking, I'll have everything in a bag that I'll be doing the tracking with, so I can pull it out, and I'll have the tracking booklet so the students can also have a look at the tracks. So that's just a sample of what we do. And then again, trying to tie everything back in to the academics. That's
amazing. Well, there's like 100 seeds that we just threw out there for you. Hopefully some will sprout. I do remember too, talking with Kelly and Sylvie, because we've been collaborating here for about 2 years now on this, is start small. You know, Kelly had mentioned, Kelly, you want to talk a little bit about how you initially start timing and then how it evolves?
How I initially started, or I'm sorry,
well, how you started with the students. Like, you don't just bring the kids out all day for your first shot, right?
No, so we start small. So starting, you know, way back in, well, you can start anytime. You don't have to wait till next September, but we always start when they start coming back to school, taking that time to go outside, sitting in a circle. We always sit in a circle, sort of, you know, let them know what we're going to be learning that day or during that time. We do the activity and we try small. So sometimes it starts off for 30 minutes. And then maybe the next time it's a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And the students just love being there. And especially the circle at the beginning, the circle at the end, really brings everybody together to understand what we're doing. And then bringing everybody together at the end to make sure that understanding was met. And yeah, start small, go out with another class. That's how we do it. And as I mentioned, now the students, they would just love to be outside all day.
I totally agree. If I can say,
Yes,
Chris,
please, Sylvie.
because you're building, you know, commencer avec se rassembler, finir, it's really important. Start small, and you know, when you start small, you ensure to build your sustainability. On s'entraîne, it's like a jogging. On commence pas à courir un 10 km. On s'entraîne petit par petit peu et on leur donne le goût. Tu sais, tout à l'heure, Kelly, je regardais ta présentation et pour certains d'entre nous, parce que tu t'en vas dans la forêt, tu as a beautiful outdoor. But sometimes for us, it's hard. We need to have parental permission to go out. So some schools, they have parental permission for all year long. So it's something that you can address to your governing board, you know, so they will have une permission qui est pour puis souvent, il ne faut pas avoir peur. Peut-être qu'il y a un petit parc qui n'est pas très loin de l'école. Oui. So you can have the town, le village, and believe that it's an open area, et moi j'ai toujours vu la classe extérieure, l'école comme étant un endroit qui va chercher la communauté. 2 years ago, and I can't wait to make it happen again. We just have this dream event, cet événement fou. We had on avait plein de lumière dans la forêt. The teacher, we had a get together with les parents just for fun, you know, chilling. On a fait 640 grilled cheese just for fun. And we had fire pits. Et les parents étaient tellement comme wow. Puis ça le fait en sorte que oui, les parents, they're really involved. And if you ask them to participer ou contribuer ou faire des petites réparations, they're always there. So, puis moi, en première année, les mitaines, tu sais, on peut faire des wish lists, demander aux parents un paquet de mitaines pour in case, quand ils sont mouillés, ou des splash pans. Tu sais, les plus vieux, moi, je peux demander, par exemple, à Senior, l'école Senior, de me donner les splash pans des plus vieux pour les plus petits, puis je peux avoir un backup au niveau des vêtements quand c'est trop...
This is when lost and founds become very important, right? To have... right? Because you can go and gather all of those at the end of the year. Well, we're getting kind of close to the end. One other thing I wanted to mention too is before you take your kids out, they always recommend that you go and know your patch. Go check out your space before you bring your kids out there, just so that you know where you want to bring them as a kind of a meeting place. Having a meeting place outside is super important because it's where you, as Kelly was saying, where you start and end your lessons. So there's kind of bookends to it. And again, structure is important. Having an intention when you're going outside, it's not just to go out and see what happens. Sometimes it is, but having that intention of what we're going to be doing so that the kids are realizing that this is a part of the learning process that they're going through.
C'est vraiment de voir un lien between inside and outside. Because, you know, teaching outside, it's not bring des cahiers de mathématiques dehors, puis on s'assoit. Puis le plus que tu enseignes dehors, le plus que tu vois les liens in between the inside and outside. And this is the main goal, I think.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Si on est heureux, on est des personnes heureuses d'être dehors.
Did anybody have any questions from the chat? I just wanted to check if we had any. Danielle, was there any questions that we could answer before our time comes to a close here today?
No questions.
Did anybody want to turn their mic on and ask a question? Was there anything that anybody is curious about? Tiffany, go ahead.
Hi, this is especially towards Sylvie because I'm in Saint-Lazare. I'm at Birchwood, so I'm really close. And I was wondering if ever it became available that if a little group here on a PED day wanted to come down and see how you all operate in your outdoor classroom, would we be able to facilitate something like that?
Oui, parfait.
Awesome.
J'ai déjà fait ça pour plusieurs
C'est fantastique.
Oui.
Parfait, j'apprécie ça.
Oui, ça a été coordonné.
We'll share the we'll share all the contacts. I'll send you everything.
Great.
So you're going to get an email tomorrow with the video, with the slides shows that they both presented, their contact information's on those slides. And I'll send you a couple of resources that we've been working on for outdoor ed and kinds of things you can do in activities if you wanted to look more at them.
Chris, si je peux rajouter, il y a la belle formation avec Learn, mais il y a aussi du côté francophone. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui se font au niveau du Québec. Tu sais, il y a le colloque Apprendre à ciel ouvert. Il y a des formations qui se donnent au cégep je pense, c'est de Rivière-du-Loup. Il y a les Forest School. Il y a Take Me Outside. Donc, Kelly et moi, on fait partie à la grandeur du Canada. Donc, juste, il y a Learning Outside, là, ils ont des beaux workshops avec. Ça va vous aider. Puis je pense que réseauter, c'est vraiment la force. C'est ce qui te donne ton énergie, même si tu es tout seul à l'école. C'est ce qui fait que, wow, I found my soul with those people. You know, c'est notre soulmate, on partage notre passion. Puis quand on parle, on revient, on dit, ah, wow, on n'est pas tout seul. So I think it's really important. Yeah.
Right. And other outdoor learning stores, another great one to check into. Fantastic. And something that's coming up in February is the Great Backyard Bird Count. So maybe that's something you'd like to get into. I'll send Chris the information.
Perfect.
So
Thanks, guys. Kevin, would you like to just talk about, we do have another networking event coming up, guys. So if you're interested into more outdoor, Carol, go ahead.
Speaking of some outdoor education events, and Sylvie and Kelly mentioned them, in collaboration with Learning for a Sustainable Future, which is a non-for-profit in Ontario, we're going to have a webinar next week. So next Tuesday, February 1st at 3:30, about 45 minutes, and then a question and discussion period. If you'd like to join, it's a presenter. She's amazing. She's presented with Take Me Outside a few times. It's Pamela Gibson. She'll talk about some winter opportunities too as well, make some curriculum connection and link to the global goals. So really learning for a sustainable future using outdoor education with your students. If you'd like to register, registration is still open. Just click on that link.
I'll put the link in the email that I send everyone.
Okay? Oh, perfect.
So you'll get all of this information.
We should do a calendar of all the events.
Yes.
Non, ça serait le fun, se faire un calendrier de tous les événements. Ping, ping, ping. On s'enregistre.
And Kelly and Sylvie, you're more than welcome to join next week as well. It will be recorded too.
And I've seen Ms. Gibson. She's awesome.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing.
She's good to turn.
I mean, Sylvie was talking about a network. Well, here it is, right? We have this, we had 100 registered. I mean, we had about 40 or so people attend, and that's fine. I mean, it's inspiring for us to know that there's other like-minded people out there that want to get into this or are curious about it and thinking about it. So I want to thank Sylvie and
there are
Ellie.
2 questions. There are 2 questions that appeared.
Well, we are out of time.
Out of time? Oh, okay.
I can answer. We can answer.
Well, if you need to leave, you can leave, but we'll answer the questions and then we'll sign off. But if you have to sign off now, thanks for coming.
There's one in the chat.
Can you say what they are?
Yes. One person raised their hand, so she'll have to ask. It's Catherine. But the first question was in the chat. She just wanted to know, how much time do you spend outside in the day?
It depends what's going on. I mean, there'll be some things that I plan for, and there'll be, today was just spontaneous, looking out out the window and seizing that opportunity to do some learning. So being able to just drop everything and go to something else. But I would say I try to get out there, I don't know, a little bit every day. Some days we don't get out there, but even, we had that short activity, it was 15 minutes today with the snow. So, and it could go up to 2 hours.
What's your time?
Quand je sors, c'est au moins 3 fois par semaine comme il faut. Puis je vais passer en moyenne, un peu moins de temps en hiver parce qu'ils sont petits, mais tu sais, ils ont éducation physique dehors aussi. On est dehors, mais je vais passer en hiver peut-être 1 heure, puis à l'automne, au printemps, beaucoup plus de temps. Donc, je pars, j'ai ma brouette, mon chariot, puis I'm ready. Moi, je serai tout le temps dehors. I want to be away from all those evaluations. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think too, keeping your own personal winter gear in your classroom and then you're just ready to go. I think that's an important factor too. Is
And having a backpack ready, you know.
Yeah.
Huh?
You never know.
That's
Catherine.
Catherine, yeah.
Hi. Yes, a wonderful presentation. I was just wondering if you have encountered challenges with students with special needs, specifically children who have physical challenges or vulnerabilities, and vulnerabilities maybe to the cold as well. I've had that too.
No, that's a great question. Great question. I've had quite a bit of experience with different students. And I think it's really meeting with the teacher, or, meeting with the teachers, meeting with the parent, and really understanding what that, challenge may be. And then knowing, if it's a physical, challenge that they may have, and you're going out cross-country skiing, well, there's a way to modify, and do something where the student is engaged in something and sliding. We did orienteering. Last year I had I had a student with autism, severe autism, and the orienteering at first, I don't know. Some were saying, well, we shouldn't take him. And no, we've got to take him. And we went, and just that counting the numbers and finding the controls, he had a great time, and he walked and walked. So I think there's always ways to adapt, the way that we do things and differentiate, just as we do in the school, and just really to look at that. And, they're children and students that just want to be outside like everybody else. So, you just make it happen. Thank you. That was a great question.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank all of you guys. Thanks for bearing with us for a little 6-minute over. We have other events coming up. You'll get an email from me tomorrow with all the details, and we really, really hope to see you guys again. This has been really great. Again, Kelly, Sylvie, you guys are awesome. Merci encore pour partager vos idées à notre communauté. So have a great evening, guys. Off you go now to your worlds, to your families.
Merci, montrez-nous vos joues rouges.
Oui. Merci.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. Thank you. Thank you.